Public comment? Seeing none. Announcement of items to be discussed in closed session.
Mr. Chairman, the board will be meeting in closed session for the conference with legal counsel regarding significant
Listen to this.
litigation pursuant to Government Code Section 54956.9, 3 cases, and items 2 and 3 will not be considered in closed session. We don't need those.
Okay, we're going to closed session. Supervisor Hammond on the lead.
Allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Almighty God, we pray this day for your ever-enduring guidance. We ask you to cloak us in wisdom and fortitude, that we may dispense our knowledge and facts intelligently among all humanity of whom we serve. Amen.
Amen.
Announcement of items discussed in closed session.
Mr. Chairman, the board met in closed session for conference with legal counsel for a discussion regarding significant exposure to litigation pursuant to Government Code Section 54956.9, 3 cases, and there was no reportable action.
Agenda approval in addition to our division. Staff have anything? Please, the board. Public have anything? We have motion to approve. We have a second. Motion and second. Any more discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, say no. Ayes have it. Public comment. I got one card from Dennis Hines.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you for the opportunity. I would like to mention just offhand that marijuana has become mainstream all over the country. It's now legal for recreational use in 4 states and the District of Columbia. It's legal for medical use in 22 states, and there are several states that are planning new medical marijuana laws. There are also several states that are planning on recreational marijuana laws. So this is mainstream now. I'd like to bring us up to speed here, just a couple of things, and I would like to, since most of you guys are new, just from the first time I spoke on the board, I'd like to mention an anecdote about 2 doctors. I had a doctor at Lake Tahoe, and before the Proposition 215 passed, I asked him, do you think I should be able to use marijuana for medicine? And he said, I think you should be able to use it for anything you want to use it for. I thought, well, I got another opinion. So I went to another doctor I had been going to, and I asked him. And he said exactly the same thing. And I went to a third doctor and asked him. Well, he said he didn't say the same thing, but he said, well, good luck with your adventure here. He said, trying to legalize medical marijuana. Anyway, or marijuana generally, which is a project I've been on for many years. It seems to me that it being illegal was a travesty of freedom in this country, that you should be able to pick and choose what you want. Alcohol is responsible for a lot of domestic violence, and it's just been shown in a recent study that even if you are not, if you've had a couple of drinks even, the accident rate goes up a lot, even if your alcohol content of your body is below the accepted rate. Now, marijuana just doesn't do that. Alcohol makes people violent, and marijuana doesn't. Marijuana was known as the peace drug. Okay, another thing we have coming up is hemp. It's just been approved by the federal government, which was approved by the state government a couple of years ago on the condition that it would have been made legal federally. Well, now it's legal at the state. And the marijuana plant is much maligned, the cannabis plant, which marijuana is just one of the products of the cannabis plant. It's the tops of the female flowering cannabis plant. The cannabis plant itself is what has been known traditionally as hemp, and it was a time-honored field crop here in the United States. There was a time when you were required to grow hemp. If you weren't, you would be fined. It was used in all kinds of clothing. It was used to make the sails and the ropes for the big sailing ships that opened the world to commerce. I just want to suggest to guys like that kind of like stop thinking about hemp as a big bad bugaboo that's going to hurt your kids if they see the plant. Marijuana and research that continues all over the world, which it does not much happening in the United States because the federal government has threatens to deny funding to any universities. This is still going on. That try to do any research on marijuana that's positive. So you're not getting any much positive results out of any research in this country, but it's going on in other countries, and they're finding that it cures cancer, that it puts a lot of different kinds of cancers into remission. So I really think it's time to open up about this plant and stop demonizing this plant. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Dennis.
Thanks, Dennis.
Anybody else wish to address the board? Last call. Anybody else wish to address the board and public comment? Seeing none, we move on to the information consent calendar. Anything anybody wish to take off separately? You too. Anybody else? Seeing nobody, we have a motion to approve the remaining of the information consent calendar. Second? Second. Motion and second. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, say no. The ayes have it. Let's take on G2, contract with Lassen County and the VA.
Yes, question I have is on page 2, number 2, D.
If I may, page 2.
We got the VA right here, Stacy.
I'm sorry, page 2 what?
Page 2, number 2, the
Sub B.
sub B. Yeah.
Run B?
Yeah. Get down there toward the end of it there, the contractor shall be compensated for contractor's accommodations in the amount not to exceed $100 per day, plus tax and accommodation facility. My question is, what facility those guys entail? Because I assume accommodations would be a room. What would be accommodations?
Well, hopefully there wouldn't be any of that type of expense that's necessary. But I believe that might come up if a motion to change venue were to be granted, which takes it from Lassen County to another county. So at that point, then we'd be looking at some accommodations and things of that nature.
I guess I'm still having a problem with that, because say you are out of county.
Right.
That's what I'm assuming this is for, so if you have to go to, say, Reading or something.
Right.
You can have a hotel room in Reading. So that would be his accommodation. So what would be accommodation facility, I guess?
More, if I could answer or jump in on that, Mr. Chairman, I think the answer lies in the changes in the, you might say, the travel industry. More and more, you might say, motel type chains are starting to apply what they call it like a resort fee. So you have your fee for your room, and then of course you also have restaurant accommodations nearby, oftentimes tied into it. But then there's the other facilities where they have like Wi-Fi, they have weight rooms, they have a swimming pool, they have those kind of things which are generically everybody can use or not use, and they don't necessarily cover that. So to cover those costs, they start slapping on, in addition to your room rate, you have like a lot of times it's described as a resort fee, whether you use it or not, and it's an amount to offset the cost of those kind of amenities that are tied to these kind of facilities. And it's becoming more and more universal. I mean, except for maybe a Motel 6, but at some point they'll probably be adopting the trend. But I've noticed that more so in the last couple of years when we travel, that there's always this, what's this resort fee? And that's what you're paying for, is the Wi-Fi, the swimming pool, the little breakfast thing they give you in the morning, even though they say it's free.
Okay.
Yes, your complimentary breakfast is added on to every room.
The heightened cost of that through a resort fee is how they often, and that's how I would interpret accommodation facility fees.
Thank you,
That's
Supervisor
what-
Chapman. I
that's
believe
what-
that that's what it is as well. I'm afraid I don't have a list of hotel fees and taxes that, I actually just came back from my training down in Long Beach, and it seemed like
Well, if you look at your.
the taxes, I should have brought it
you
with
look
me.
at
The
your-
taxes and fees are endless, it seems.
Yeah.
So we just want to make sure that any taxes and fees are covered if Mr. Howe were to go out of
He
county.
gets $100 for his base room rate at max, but any fees that they attach above and beyond that would not be coming out of that $100 fee. Is how I read that.
Is that the intent of the purpose?
That's the intent and the purpose.
Okay. Because I just didn't understand what that was. Obviously,
Okay.
I don't stay in those things.
Any more questions?
Well, don't worry, they'll come and find you and they'll.
Yes, they will.
We suggested to Mr. Howe that he take a cab over to Camper, but he wasn't going for it.
He's a tough one, that guy.
Okay, any more questions? Stacey, on
Stay in
this?
Walmart parking lot.
That was the only question I had, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, thank you, Stacey. Got a motion to approve it?
Three originals.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Motion and second, any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those say no, the ayes have it. We go to, I guess we better do unagendized reports by board members. Tim?
I just had one item, Mr. Chairman. We've had a lot of storm damage this past week or so with the windstorm in particular, and it's been amazing the homes and the businesses and other infrastructure that's been impacted. But one item which nobody has any ownership of, but one that has created some concern in the community, and that is the damage at the historic cemetery, the Susanville Cemetery up by the courthouse, and the historic archway that was kind of the greeting to that there was the victim of a tree falling and literally smashed it. It's pretty much destroyed. To the credit of Public Works, they did for the Lassen Cemetery. It's a project that I've kind of been involved with them on, and it kind of grew out of what happened at the Milford Cemetery, where one of the young men out there, Dina Fred Wimple's son, had actually built an archway for that cemetery, and because of that was such a great project, we actually got an archway installed for the Lassen Cemetery on Chestnut Street. So as you're heading over there, take a look at it. It's really nice looking what they've got established, and it's designed to kind of provide some focus to that entrance area. Well, we're going to need to do something with the Susanville Cemetery, so I'd like to just bring that to the board's attention and ask maybe Richard if you could work with Larry and Pete Einbigner. We could come back with maybe some sort of a proposed project, because all over Facebook, when after the storm damage, there was pictures showing that, and of course a lot of folks thought it belonged to the city, and that the city, I weighed in and said that it's something that belongs to the county, and the county will take necessary measures to get that restored. And obviously it's something that is not a high priority compared to the businesses and homes that were damaged, but at some point we want to make sure and take care of that. And it may require us put some money in the budget. We might also have some of the service clubs that might want to match the project, and possibly the work could be done either through a Boy Scout project, or as a case of what Mr. Wimple did out there at the Milford Cemetery as a way means. We got the welding classes at the college and the high school. I mean, there's a lot of ways to put together a project, but I'd like to make sure that that doesn't get lost in the shuffle.
Thank you, Jim. Aaron?
I have none.
Tom?
Last week I attended another meeting with UNR about the putting the residents in our health clinics. And Dean Heller's representative, Mark Amadei's representative, and Doug Lamoff's representative was at the meeting. It's progressing quite well. As a matter of fact, the next meeting we have, I'm going to take Richard with me to, they've requested a little bit of staff time from us to help Radine do her research, and I don't think it's going to amount to much, but it's a critical element in getting this push forward. They have the program coordinator and the curriculum coordinator there, and they're on board. They're on board. It's a really neat project, and I think we can get it done. Just take a little bit of effort on our part, but it'd sure be nice to see those residents in our clinics.
I'll be at the Janesville Council meeting tonight.
I have nothing, so we'll move on to H. H1.
This is a commissioner's item item. Mr. Henfield, the other Mr. Henfield.
Okay.
Hey.
Here we go.
You've never seen me with a tie on. You must want something.
He promised to return it later.
We're done. Excuse me.
Well, I'm here to ask you guys today to approve our chemical bid purchase for 2015. So our low bid winner, which was Wilbur Ellis for the amount of $54,469.42. We did go through the bid process, and then to allow us to spend another additional $8,715 to maximize the grant awards that we have. We have that amount of money in grants, so that's why I'm before you today.
Any questions?
No, kind of chemical.
Good question, Aaron. Basically, there's some newer chemicals out there using Milestone, Telar, Landmark, and S1A. And they kind of vary about what they do. I mean, a lot of them are residual long-term sterilants types. Others are a little bit softer, allow the native grasses to grow while we control the broadleaf weeds. Kind of site-specific type stuff where one's a roadside or industrial type area, and the other one's somebody's pasture or something where you want the grass to grow, but you want to suppress the broadleaf weeds. So the majority of our weeds that we do are broadleaves that are noxious. So.
And did you put in, I know you sent out packets, did you send a packet to the farm supply, McCarthy?
Yes.
And then one other question, it's kind of unrelated to this here, but we talked about grasses growing on pasture. What's the going rate for pasture?
The what?
The going rate for pasture?
For rent?
Yeah.
You got water?
No.
You got feed out there? I mean, there's so much that comes into play, but I'd say it's around $25 nowadays.
Okay.
And the price of beef's up, so the price of pasture is going to be up. If you got feed and water, that's
I would say 20 to 50, depending on
correct.
Is this delivered or
Yeah, this is delivered to us.
delivered to us?
Okay. Any questions from the public?
Well, you guys fuss over for the grass areas. I believe that we approved this. They're awarding it to Wilbur Ellis for the amount of $54,465.
I'll second that.
Motion is second, any more discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, say no. Ayes have it. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
I'd say you.
Okay, we'll move on to H2.
Mr. Chairman, the next item is the NorCal EMS transportation plan for Lassen County. We're asking for approval of that today. The board's had several discussions over the past months regarding the plan. Mr. Spees is here to address any specific details. The changes that are, there's two documents in your packet. One is a red line document, although it's black and white in your copies. All the changes are identified in the columns of the document. And the last document is what we would consider to be the final EMS plan without the changes identified. The changes are all consistent with what we've discussed in the past and the changes that the state representatives have requested be made in the plan. Mr. Spees is here to address any questions or concerns the board has.
Questions from Jim?
I just want to, get some assurances. Back in December, we were told this was like a bulletproof thing that had to be done, and we couldn't make any modifications, even though we had basically changed the document earlier in September or August because of the committee that had done this review. And then in January, it came back to us after a defect was identified by the state and kicked back, it was supposedly squared away and submitted, and it's been now rejected by the state a second time because of some defects. So my question is this one going to pass muster with the state, or are we going to have to deal with more? Because in December we were told we were out of time, and here it is in the middle of February, so if we were out of time in December, we're really out of time now.
And I think we are really out of time. Getting this done in time for a contract to be in place by the deadline.
And we paid some good money for a consultant to work with NorCal EMS to make sure the thing was done correctly in the first time. I mean, it's a consultant we worked with for years. I mean, so there was no thought about the fact that the work product wouldn't be sufficient to meet the requirements that the state clearly has set forth. So my question is this it? And
That's it.
And is it not going to have any more problems?
Well, there's no guarantees until the state, finally blesses it. We believe this will meet the test. Mr.
NorCal, I come up here on NorCal EMS will approve it tomorrow. But I'm maybe change that. It's on the agenda to be approved.
I'm Dan Spees with NorCal EMS. I received a letter Friday from the state giving approval to the plan that we submitted with the amendments.
So they pre-approved this, so if we get it submitted, they're not going to kick it back to us again?
I have a letter that says they approve it. And their instructions were that after our board approved it, and of course our board will consider it based upon the recommendation of this board, the only changes that they would want is that the dates on the timeline be updated. And yes, we are running out of time.
So Dan, what happens if they kick it back? Then where are we?
I don't believe that they will. But if they did, then I've had a brief conversation with them on this matter. If the current provider would consider to continue beyond the contract period, and if that was the will of this group and the NorCal board, then I would suggest that we continue it for whatever, a month or 2 months or 3 months or whatever. If they were not willing to continue, then at the end of the contract period, it would be a free and open market. And that's what you all decided you did not want to have in 2005.
Thank you. Patrick Smith is in the back. He could probably answer that question. Patrick, you want to come up to the podium? State your name and who you are and the recorder. We all know the recorder, though.
Yes, sir, I do. Mr. Chairman and Supervisors, Patrick Smith, Chairman and CEO of SEGSA, that has been providing service here for upcoming 10 years. I will tell you on behalf of all of us, you guys need to do whatever you need to do to take care of your community. We, on our behalf, if it goes over the timeline, which I think it's going to, we'll do whatever we have to do to take care of the community. So we'll make sure you're all okay.
Thank you for that.
Questions for Patrick?
No, I think he's done an excellent job, and I appreciate his commitment.
We all appreciate what you've done for the last 10 years.
It's all about the people.
Correct. That's what it's supposed to be, about the people.
Yeah.
Any questions from the public of Mrs. Smith? Seeing none, thank you, Patrick.
No problem.
Anybody else in the audience wish to speak on this item? There's a lot of people out there.
I will tell you that a copy of these most recent changes were made available to Mr. Chittick and the folks from Mountain in advance of today, so a meaningful review of that could be had. I don't know if he feels the need to comment, but we wanted to make sure, because of past events in this boardroom, that they were included in the loop so that they'd have a meaningful opportunity to comment today if they felt it necessary. So, with that.
Well, good morning. Gene Chittick on behalf of Mountain Life Flight. We were provided copies by Mr. Egan, and I have spoken with Mr. Burns. We have reviewed them, and we believe they're consistent with what the previous agreement was, and we have nothing more to add other than We would like to obviously see this process move forward. And we thank staff for their efforts because they did provide us a lot of time to keep us in the loop, and we appreciate that.
Okay, so, anybody else? Any more questions from the board?
I just would like to ask Mr. Egan, can we get a partial refund from our consultant for less than flawless?
You should probably direct that to your North County.
Can we get the plan adopted first?
Mr. Chairman, I move that we adopt the revised plans with all the revisions that apparently the state, Mountain Lifeline, SIMSA, staff, North County EMS apparently are prepared to embrace as being the final product.
Do I have a second?
Second.
We got a motion and a second. Any more discussion?
Comment.
Just a comment, would that include your recommendation to our board to adopt and submit to the state?
That's the essence
sort
of
of the
requested
little
action.
hop, skip, and jump thing.
I thought I said that.
What's that?
I thought I said that.
Thank you.
Yeah, just to be clear, be sure to see them get it right.
Excellent. Just got it.
And
If
again,
that wording is included, that is appropriate.
Thank you.
and again, it'll be on a conference call tomorrow at 10 o'clock. No, 11 o'clock. 11 o'clock. It's that wizard deal where everybody gets on the phone. Anyhow, okay, Madam Clerk, would you pull the board?
Supervisor Chapman? Supervisor Alba?
Aye.
Supervisor Hempel?
Aye.
Supervisor Hammond?
Aye.
And Supervisor Crowell?
All right. Okay, thank all of you for coming, and we got there.
Thank you.
Okay, next item, County Administrative Office, information to the Board of Supervisors.
Mr. Chairman, I just have one item. Last Wednesday, Supervisor Hemphill and I toured the Sierra Army Depot with Colonel Lassen and some of his staff again, and spoke with them about what they're doing out there in that area. As I think all of you have been out there, it's quite impressive the volume of activity that's going on in all those buildings out there, and we got to see it a little more. But every time you go out there, you see something different because they're always changing. But one of the issues that came up that I'm going to explore a little further is the potential for the county or other fire districts, school districts, et cetera, to take advantage of some of their surplus property. We're going to be working on trying to streamline the information. The main hurdle there is trying to get information on what they have, when it's available, and so on. So we're going to be working on that, hopefully be able to take advantage of some of the surplus property they have. That's all I have.
I have a question for on your tour. In the discussions and presentations made by the bidders on the RFP for the airfield, had indicated or suggested that they had met with and were working with the Army on implementation of various phases of their proposed ideas. And that was challenged, of course, by Ms. Spencer, who was in the audience, and said that she contacted the Army people, and they said they had never had any discussions. Did you have an opportunity to ask Mr. Slauson, or Colonel Slauson, what the true discussions took place or didn't take place?
Yes, I did. I asked Colonel Slauson, Eric Manor, that question, and they were very careful in their answer, but their answer was that they were not in negotiations with anyone.
We've had
negotiations is kind of
we've had conflicting information given to the board, and I was just curious as to the nature of that.
I'd like to speak to that. Right after their visit, I went to the third meeting with them, with Hal Hayes and Associates, and we toured the base, and they were discussing their potential business.
Who were they?
Eric Manor, Laurie McDonald, myself, Hal Hayes, Pizzulo, and Smith, and that is the third meeting. That is actually in progress. There's some nuances to that probably can't be made public quite yet, so that's why the base is reluctant to
Correct me if I'm wrong, Richard, this, how they answer is they do not solicit business. They're,
Yes.
I wasn't,
They make a very interesting distinction that they will entertain and discuss proposals brought to them, but they cannot cross the line, some imaginary line or what have you, of going out and soliciting people.
it's like one of the problems they have out there right now is they don't have food service for the employees. You eat the packed lunch and you starve. And they were suggesting to us that, you know, we spread the word, I guess, wasn't it how you took it? That
Yeah.
we get somebody, local business, to solicit to them a proposal on, like, say, a food truck or something like that to do business.
We,